All right, guys, I'm coming on just a little early just to make sure that we're not having any technical difficulties. Let's see if we can. Okay. All right, I bought a new stand for my phone, and I'm just trying to position it. Okay, I think that's good right there. Good morning, Amber. How are you? Welcome. How have you been? What do you think about the class? Are you excited? So we are going to wait just a few minutes. I am on a little early. I just wanted to come on and get set up to make sure that I was not having any technical difficulties like I did last time. Not really sure what that was all about. But I prayed and the Lord has heard my prayer. And so um, hopefully we will not have any troubles today. And I'm going to excellent. You are excited about the class? Okay, I'm pulling myself up here on the computer. Let me put this back so I'm actually in frame. I think that's better. Okay. All right, welcome to those that are joining. We're just going to wait a few minutes for others to join us. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am going to talk about the class a little bit. Good afternoon, Janae. How are you? So good to see you. I feel like I need to make this a little higher. Hold on just a second. I'm going to put another book. Okay, is that better? Excited for the class to start. Yes, I am excited as well. This will be my fourth time. I think this will be my fourth time going through the class. See, I bought the class and then I did a mini course and then we did the course this year. So this will be my fourth time going through the class. And each time I learned something new. So that's very exciting. All right. What time is it? All right, we'll start in just a couple of minutes. Hello to all that are joining. Welcome to all of our new members. We have lots of new members, way more than I ever expected. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've had about 62 people join, so that's exciting. So, and before that, I think we had about 50 or more. So, well over 100 people have signed up just for 2018. So, and several people from last year are going to retake the class. So, I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to a lot of great discussion and learning and all that. All right, just one more minute and then we will get started. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to place your question in the comment section. And I'm going to see if there's a way that I can save questions for others? Good morning, Megan. You're really looking forward to the class? Yes, I am definitely looking forward to the class. Thank you for joining us. All right, well, it is noon, so let us have a word of prayer and then we will get started. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity that you have given us to meet together. I thank you for having no technical difficulties when I tried to log on. I thank you for taking care of that. I ask that you would be with us as we discuss, impress our hearts to learn of you and to receive what the Holy Spirit is trying to impress upon us. I pray for all the moms and dads that will be joining and that are seeking to raise their children in the fear and admonition of you. Be with us, Lord, and empower us that we will be ready for your soon coming. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys. So, this meeting is mainly for those who are new. Certainly, our class members who are already class members are welcome. But I just have gotten a few questions about the 10 principles information, where to find it, how to access it, what exactly am I talking about when I say lessons. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you to the website and I'm going to show you how to access the information, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about when I say something in particular. So for example, we are getting ready to begin the 10 principles of true education course. So what is that? Is it a course to teach you how to use the Sunlight program? Not really. Now, we will talk about how to use the Sunlight program. I will take you step by step through how to plan the lessons, how the curriculum works, and how to use it, but that is not the purpose of this course. The purpose of this course is to learn the principles of true education. So this is kind of the railing that you want your train to ride smoothly on. So we are laying the foundation so that when you get to the lessons, you know the point of the lessons, you know how to be a teacher, you know how to implement education. So this is kind of a class for the teachers to learn how Christ taught, and then in turn how we want to teach. So I'm going to turn my screen around here on my phone, and I'm going to show you the how to access the materials. Okay. All right. So good morning to you. All right. So here is the Sunlight Education webpage, and right there where it says downloads, we're going to click on that. And then it's going to take us to this page. And at the very top, it says to locate our free downloads, please go to our Sunlight Education Ministry Google Drive. So notice this is a clickable link. We're going to click on this link. And then this is going to take us to the drive. Now this drive holds most of the information that is available from Sunlight. There are files that are still being added, but pretty much what we offer is in this drive. So you're going to click here on the 10 principles of education training course. Oh, hold on, I think I clicked the wrong thing. Let's try it again. There we go. All right, now a couple of things you're going to find in here. One is if you scroll down, you're going to look for lesson 1. It's going to say section 1, character building. When I refer to reading the lesson, this is what I'm referring to. So we're starting with lesson 1, character building, the purpose of true education. When you look at the calendar, you're going to see information that pertains to the actual lesson. So I'm going to say read up to page 4. So this is where I'm talking about. So right here, you're going to read up to page 4. You're going to do the information that is in the pages. You're going to have assignments to read, and then you're going to have here where you can write down your thoughts If you have not printed out the information, you can get a notebook and you can write down your thoughts in the notebook. All right. So that's what I mean when I'm referring to the actual lesson itself. Okay, now if we go back to that same link, there's a folder that has my name on it. Counselor Yolanda's Helps for 10 Principles. And I need to change that because it says 2017. I have two folders here. The one for 2018 is going to have the new calendar. So this is the calendar that has been put together for January. Would you mind giving us a background on Sunlight Ministries homeschool curriculum? I couldn't find any history how it came about or by who. Okay, just a second and I will do that. Okay, so this is the calendar for January. You can print it out or you can access it here. It's going to have all the readings, and then we meet each Friday at noon. And so I will post a calendar for each month to tell you, it will help to let you know which lessons we will be discussing. And then one other thing, well, two other things I'll show you that you'll see in the drive. You can find the family Bible lessons are here. I've had a lot of questions about the family Bible lessons. You can start here with year one. Quarter one is right here, year one, quarter one. And then the 2 through 8 lessons are going to be down here, 2 through 8 grade lessons. So these are the terms that I will use when I'm referring to different materials, all of which you can find in the, okay, hold on just a second. You said it's a little low. Okay, let me see if I can turn up my volume. Okay, all right, I'm gonna turn you guys up. Let me see. Okay, I'm turning my volume up. I don't know. Let me know if that helps. Okay, and let me go back because we did have a question. Okay, so, all right, this question comes from Amber and it says, would you mind giving us a background on Sunlight Ministries homeschooling curriculum? I couldn't really find any history in how it came about or who. Okay, so the Sunlight curriculum was written by Jenny Cook, and I don't really have a lot of information on how she wrote it or why. But I can tell you that she lives in the northwestern part of the United States in the Washington area. Sister Codemer would probably have more information on that because she actually worked with Mrs. Cook and kind of apprenticed with her. And so I found out about this curriculum from another friend. I just know it was written by Mrs. Cook, and you know, obviously God gave it to her because it's written wonderfully, but I don't know that I have any more information on it than that. She wrote it for her child. I'm not sure how many children she has, but she used it with her family, and she had an actual bookstore, a print shop, I guess would be more accurate, which she would print the lessons. And you live in Washington. Okay, so if you ask around, I bet someone in Washington knows the history of Mrs. Cook. Or like I said, if you get in touch with Miss Codemer, I'm sure that Miss Codemer would be able to probably answer any question you would have because she worked with her personally and apprenticed under her and learned all of the principles that she was seeking to set forth in this curriculum. And so it's based on the Desire of Ages. So each lesson in the 2 through 8 lessons is based on a chapter of the Desire of Ages. And so the Bible lesson is based on the Bible verses in the Desire of Ages, and all of the subjects coincide with what is learned in that chapter. Mrs. Cook. Yes, that's what I was saying, that Mrs. Cook lives in Washington. And so I'm sure there's someone in that area who would know the history of how she came to put this program together. So, all right, well, excellent. Thank you for that question. Are there any other questions? Okay, I'm just looking back to see if there's any other questions. Anybody? Surely someone has some questions. Oh, and there also is a prayer line that is being established. Does our question have to be about the lessons? No, it doesn't have to be about the lessons. I'm doing the scope, so if people have questions about the lessons, they can, but it doesn't have to be limited to the lessons. Anything about homeschooling? Do you recommend printing the whole course out? We'll be going through and putting the info in binders. It is nice to have it printed because you can highlight, you can write in the margin, you can, you know, you have that tangible paper. You don't have to print it out. It may be nice to print it lesson by lesson and put it in a binder. When I bought the course, it was in a big 2.5, 3-inch binder. And so it is very nice to print it all out and have it in a binder, but you don't have to do that. But yes, I would recommend that you print out so that you can write notes and make reference. And there's just something about having things in hand, tangible, that make it. I do recommend that if you're not able to print it out, that you get a notebook to write your notes in, that you do have something that you can write in. So I do recommend that you have something to write. Okay, we got a few questions, so let me go back here. Okay, Megan says, do you recommend, oh, that was Megan's question. Okay, I'm sorry, Megan, I think I answered your question. Okay, Nikki says, how do you recommend teaching the curriculum in a classroom setting? So do you mean like in an actual school when you say classroom setting, like with 25, 30 children? Is that what you're asking, Nikki? Yes. Okay, so I wouldn't change much from what you would do at home, other than, obviously you're not going to be able to do all the things that you would be doing at home as far as chores and things like that. But I would go through the curriculum the same way that it's set up, and that's to do Bible plus 2 subjects per day. And then after the Bible lesson is complete, you're going to read through the Desire of Ages. But I would go through it the same way that I would with my own children at home. Obviously now you just have more children that you're going through it with, so you may not be able to go through it as quickly. But I don't know, because you're not going to be going through a whole lot, and so you could add activities to go with the lessons. But I would use it pretty much the way that it's set up to be used. And then maybe since you have more time in your school day, you would just add other activities that would go along with the actual curriculum. So if you want to call me, we can talk about that to do some lesson planning. But there's not much that I would change because I like the way that it's set up. All right. Then Shanae says, I have a question. I need help with whining. My children can't seem to talk or ask questions without whining. I keep encouraging them to speak properly, but it's not stopping. Okay, so yeah, that's a hard one because little kids like to whine because they feel like everything is so hard and nobody understands me. So you want to encourage them that they are big boys and girls, right? And so big boys and girls don't whine, and they ask questions. And so what I would do is, if they whine, then they have to repeat what they have said without whining. And it may be 5 times that they have to repeat it. I had to do this with my son. Now, he didn't whine, but he mumbled. And especially if he was asking me something that he didn't really want to ask, or if he was saying something that he didn't really want to say, then he would kind of mumble. And so I told him, I don't speak mumble. And so you can say to your children, I don't speak whine. And so mommy's not going to be able to have a conversation with you if you're whining. And you can just tell them, mommy's not listening. So come back when you're able to speak to mommy and you're not whining. And so when they realize that you're not going to respond to them, and that you're not, so like if they ask in whining, that you don't respond. They have to say it without whining. They have to say it correctly before you respond. And it may take 15-20 minutes. It may take a long time because it's a habit that they've built up, and so they have to break it. And so it may also help to record them. So you turn your phone on and you record what they're saying so they can hear what it sounds like. Because sometimes they don't really know what it sounds like because they're so used to it. It's just, the normal way of doing things. And so when you record it and then you play it back and then you say, now, does that sound like, right? So you say, now, does that sound like a big girl? And they're going to say, no, that sounds like a baby, doesn't it? Now, do any babies live in this house? No, right? So, so I would try those. And then if those don't work, come back and we'll think about something else. But, just encourage them to speak properly and don't respond. Like if they whine and they want some water, they don't get any water until they ask for it properly. Now, of course, we want them to have water, but you understand what I'm saying, that they're not going to get it because they're whining. And sometimes they may not be able to get something because they whined for it. So, they might have to miss dessert or something nice, right? Okay. How can the curriculum be taught in a virtual setting? So I think maybe the same way that we teach this course, we do it virtually. So is it just you recording, or is it interaction like we have? So if you have interaction, I have a problem getting my children onto the schedule. Okay, we'll come to that one in just a second. So if you're teaching a class virtually, then it really will depend on what kind of virtual setup you have. So if you have something like Skype or something like this on YouTube Live, where you ask a question and then people can actually respond, then you can teach it just like I'm doing our 10 principles. Okay, so you're using Zoom. Now, I've never used Zoom, but I'm assuming that Zoom has the capability where the students can respond, type, ask questions, answer questions. And so you're going to make it as much like a real class as possible. So you're going to ask a question, and then the students are either going to type the answer, because I'm assuming if they're taking this class that they're old enough to type, and maybe they don't know how to type, but they have microphone access, and so you can give them permission to speak. They can answer the question. They could even upload pictures. They can write in their journal or whatever they're keeping their notes in. They could take a picture of it, and then they could send it to you and share it with the class. And so you want to make it as interactive as possible by asking questions and encouraging discussion, answering any questions. And then I would give projects related to whatever lesson you're on. So it may be a lesson about health, and you may be learning something about the heart. And so now you're asking them questions about their heart. How many beats a minute does your heart beat when you're running, when you're resting? So you just want to ask specific questions that relate to the lesson to make it real, to make it practical, so that they're actually understanding what's being taught in the lesson. So I hope that helps. Okay. Okay, Allison mentioned chapters in Adventist home. Was that for the whining, Allison? I have a problem getting my children onto the schedule, is what Tony says. Okay, so for the schedule, one of the things that you want to do with the schedule is if you have not been on a schedule, then you don't want to just schedule every minute of your day. So you want to try what the More Formula calls the anchors. So you're going to have a time that you get up, you're going to have time that you go to bed, and you're going to have a time that you eat. And just start with that. Just wake your children up at the same time. Make them go to bed at the same time. Like maybe they even have bath time. Bath time is 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever bath time is. This is the time for their bath, and then they have a time where they go to bed, and then you have a time for your meals, breakfast, lunch, and then if you do a third meal, then you have a time for that. And then you want to try as much as possible to get on schedule for those things. And then once you have mastered those things, then you can add other things at a particular time. Where can we? Oh, okay. All right. So let me know if that answers your question about schedule. So just pick a few bullet points, a few anchors to put into your day, and then everything else will kind of work around those. The eating time is so important because I have found that if you eat at the same time every day, it helps with so many different areas. So try that. Eating at the same time, waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time. Master those three areas, and then you will see that the other areas will kind of fall into place, or at least it'll be a lot easier to put the areas into place. All right, let's go back here. We got a few other questions. Okay, Allison mentioned that she was listening to cheerfulness and speech chapters this morning, and she's wondering if we have a bunch of families locally for 10 Principles course, getting together for accountability would be a good idea. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. The more, the merrier. When you have people who you can read together with, you can discuss with, you can ask questions about, like, what did you get from this part of the reading? What does this mean for you practically? How are you implementing these principles in your home? Absolutely. I think that would be a wonderful idea to have a local chapter that meets together regularly to discuss. Yeah, I think that would be great. All right, Candace says, should we do all the subjects every day? So you could do all of the subjects every day. Um, I don't necessarily recommend that because I think that it can be distracting and you can wind up doing too much. So what I like, what has worked best for me and my family, how I teach others to use the curriculum is to do the Bible lesson and two subjects per day. And then you do those two subjects until you complete the subjects. So the subjects are in the rainbow order: Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, blue, green. No, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. You do the lessons in that order, and when you're done with one subject, you pick up the next. So, for example, you're going to always begin your lesson with health and math. And then your math lesson is probably going to be a little shorter than health. So, when you finish math, Then you're going to pick up music. So now you're going to be doing health and music, and then you're probably going to finish music, and then you're going to pick up the next lesson, which I believe is nature, red, orange, yellow, yeah, green. So then you're going to pick up nature, and so you're going to do that until you have gone through all of the subjects. And I would do it that way, but not more than 2 subjects at a time, so that you can, because it's unit study. So when you do a unit study, you just concentrate on a few things at one time for a few weeks, and for another couple of weeks you concentrate on something else. And so it helps to learn the material because everything is kind of concentrated into one subject. So I do not recommend doing all of the subjects every day, because even if you're in college and you're taking 18 hours, you're not going to go to every class every day. They stagger it because it's better for you to focus. And I don't recommend taking 18 hours, but I'm just saying. um, they stagger it so that you have time to go back, read your notes, think about it, mull over it, and then go to the next topic in that class. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let's go back here. My pastor made a suggestion, but with little children and families getting together, how could we structure a get together? That's from Allison. So Allison, um, you could try to meet once a week. If you feel like once a week is too much, you could meet on a Sunday when a lot of the husbands are home. You could meet. You could even meet on a Sabbath afternoon. I mean, this is the 10 principles of true education. So this is Sabbath worthy discussion. This is character building, and so you could have a potluck on a Sabbath afternoon and meet for dinner, and a light dinner, because if you eat too much, you're not going to be able to think. But you could meet at someone's home, and then you could take an hour or two to discuss a certain part of the material. So um, you don't want it to be too long, but this is a part of the training to bring your families together, to teach the children to sit and, listen and be able to have a discussion. And of course, they're going to move a little bit because they're children. But I think that meeting at someone's home, meeting at the church, meeting at a park, there's a few ways that you could do it. You could even meet on the phone. You can do a conference line and have a discussion that way. So that's a few ideas. Hopefully that will get your mind juices flowing of how you could meet together. All right. Let's see. You are very welcome. All right. This is from Tony. It says, hello, Yolanda. This is Tony's husband. On the same email, we're in need of revival and reformation. What is this true education? Has it been mentioned in prophecy? Oh, absolutely. So I encourage you, Tony's husband, to do a search in the spirit of prophecy. When you say prophecy, do you mean spirit of prophecy? Um, Maybe I should ask for clarification on that. But certainly, you can even not Google, but do a search in the writings of the spirit of prophecy for true education. Or a lot of times, the servant of the Lord will say, this is true education. And she's talking about character building. And there's many statements. There's even a book called Education that talks about education and how we are to be educated and how we are to educate. So there is much information on true education and what true education is, and how, in a nutshell, true education is the forming of the character of Christ within. This is the work of true education. And she says that in, I can't even count how many ways, in many different books, under many different topics. So I would encourage you to do a search on just quote true education, and probably several thousand things will come up. All right. Another part of getting in on schedule is getting the chores done within a certain time. Yes. So that is definitely a part. And so you want to make sure when you're doing the chores, if it's taking too long, that you're working on cleaning as you go. So you want to um, you want to get to the root of the problem of why is it taking so long to do the chores. Is it because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done? And why is there a lot of stuff that needs to be done? Is it because we're not doing it when it should be done? Because if we're cleaning as we go, then there just shouldn't be a whole lot of things to do on a day-to-day basis that would take a whole lot of time. So that's what the weekly initiatives have been about, to help us get a handle on the chores so that we're not spending a whole day cleaning the house. Because if we're spending the whole day cleaning, then that means we're not doing a good job of cleaning as we go. And a lot of us have not been taught how to clean as we go. And so that's fine. And so, but we're going to be learning these things. We're going to be teaching our children these things. We're going to be seeing how many things we can do in advance before we go to bed, when we wake up in the morning. How many things can we take care of so that when it's time to eat lunch, then we don't have to do all these things because the kitchen's already clean, because we cleaned the kitchen before we left breakfast. And so, why is breakfast taking so long? Are there things that I could have prepped the night before? Do we need to eat meals that are a little more simple because it's taking me 2 hours to prepare the meal? If it's taking me 2 hours to prepare the meal, then I probably need to find something else to eat. Or I probably need to do part of the prep the night before. What kinds of things can I do ahead of time? Maybe I can put something on when I get up in the morning so that by breakfast time it's already ready because it's been cooking. It's had time to soak or whatever needs to be done. If you're cooking some beans, those can be soaked the night before. You don't have to soak them in the morning. You can put the crock pot on the night before. And so that by the time dinner is ready, then everything's already done because you started cooking the day before. So we really want to take some time and look at how are we spending our time, and are we being good with our time management. So, all right. Okay, guys, and I'm not ignoring your question. I'm just going in the order that I'm getting them. And this is one thing that I do like about YouTube, is I can go back and see the questions once they go off the screen. Okay, my computer's acting a little crazy, but okay. Shanae says the Bermuda Mothers Get Together. It's been awesome, helpful, and insightful. We meet at a playground so we can watch and talk. That is wonderful, Shanae. Thank you for sharing that. So meeting at a playground, packing your lunch, the kids can eat, they can get their exercise in, they can run and scream, you know, and have a great time. That is awesome. And so now they're not all fidgety. So if you're somewhere, obviously Shanae's in Bermuda, so the weather's nice. But so for those who are in the dead of winter, you may have to meet inside. But in some places, the weather is still permissive, and you can meet outside. I know I'm in Florida, and it's like in the 40s today, and so we're not used to this cold. But oh, it is cold. When I think of Bermuda, I don't think of cold, so forgive me. But we don't have snow. Yeah, it doesn't snow in Florida, not usually. So, but you can bundle up and meet outside, or like I said, if it's too cold, you can just meet inside. All right, Kadian, is that how you say your name? Katie Ann says, my 3-year-old cries, no screams. When he can't have his way at times, I don't give him anything he cries for, and I will let him have quiet time until he's ready to calm down. How can I get him to stop crying for every little thing? I would appreciate any advice. Okay, so, oops, math. Okay, I missed that. I'll go back. Okay, so this question is about the little one that cries about every little thing. Which is kind of the same thing as whining for every little thing. So what we want to do is you want to teach our children to use their words. This is so important because they whine and they cry because they're communicating, right? What they're saying is they're not happy and they're not getting their way and they want something and they want it now. And so sometimes they cry because mommy pays attention when they cry. And so they're trying to get mommy's attention. And so, as you said, you don't give him anything that he cries for. That is perfect. Do not give children what they cry for because they will continue to cry and they will wear you down. Children are masters at wearing you down and they know when to keep pushing. And so, but you want to be proactive and you want to figure out, okay, is he whining because he's hungry? Is he whining because he's tired? Is he whining because he just doesn't like what I'm saying? You want to identify the cause of the whining first. Because now, once we have identified the cause, now we can deal specifically with the issue. Always, always go to the root of the problem. Because if you just deal with the symptom, if you just deal with the whining, if you just deal with the crying, like, okay, it may go away for a little while, but you need to know, why is the child crying? Is the child in pain? Like, why is the child crying? And so you may ask the child, why are you crying? Okay, now you go sit over there and cry, and you come back when you're ready to tell mommy why you're crying. So the 3-year-old knows why they're crying. Um, and so you can allow the child, in their own words, to explain what the problem is. And now we want to address the root issue. Now, sometimes the problem is that we're not on a schedule, and the child thinks that they can do something now because we just kind of do whatever whenever. And so, well, this is what I want to do now, and it just seems like we just do whatever we feel like doing whenever. And so they haven't been taught about structure and about timing and about the principle of Ecclesiastes. To everything there is a purpose, there's a time, to everything under heaven. And so we want to teach them that there's a purpose and there's a time for everything. And as we become structured, as we are giving them their meals on time, as we are making sure that they are properly hydrated, they are well rested, a lot of the issues that we are having with our children will disappear, because a lot of times they are cranky, they're not well rested, they're moody, because they just have not been given the structure that they need. So I would try with the schedule, I would try with the routine, I would try with being consistent, and see if that doesn't help you with a lot of the problems that you're having with your son. All right, let's see. Quentin, this is Tony's husband, responded, and he says, yes, I mean Bible and EGY. Why is true education not in the SDA church? Ooh, Quentin, now you're asking me questions that I am not going to be answering on here. So, um, Quentin, it. So let me say it. Let me answer it this way. True education. Are you laughing, Shay? Like, this is okay. I'm going to answer this gracefully as possible. True education is not being taught for the same reason that there are heresies in the church. For the same reason that, the church is not ready. And so all I can say is, for me personally, the things that I have learned, like, nobody nowhere was teaching these things. And I just was learning things, and I was amazed, because we have become like the world. Like, that's all I can say. We have become like the world. And what does the scripture say? Being ignorant of the righteousness of God, they establish a righteousness of their own. So being ignorant of the counsels of God, believing that there is something better, that there is something different, we have not taken hold of the counsel that has been given to us. And I'll just say, let's even just talk about the health message. Okay, excuse me, this hair is just doing what he wants to do. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Um, take the health message. Why is not every Seventh Day Adventist Christian espousing the health message? You can't say it's because they don't know, but part of it is because they don't know. Why? Because it's not being taught in the way that it's given. It's been taught as a message of restriction. And I've had people, Seventh Day Adventists, say to me, "Oh, you can't eat that." I can eat it if I wanted to. I could eat it if I wanted to. It's not that I can't eat it. Why would I want to if I understand the counsel? God says, "I set before you death and life. Choose." That's what he says. I set before you this thing. You can choose. I set before you good health. I set before you bad health. Now, if you want bad health, then eat all that junk over there. You can eat it if you want to. Now, you're going to pay for it and you're going to go to an early grave. But why would you want to do that? Why would you put 87 octane in your brand new Jaguar? You are not going to do that. Why? Because it is a fine piece of machine. You are not going to put 87 octane in your new Lamborghini. You're not going to do that. Why? Because it is a fine piece of machinery and you're going to put the best in it. So when you understand that your body is the temple of God, and not only that your body is the temple of God, but that your body is fearfully made, that it is amazing, you're not going to put trash in your body. You could if you wanted to, but you're not going to do that because you have been given counsel, you have been taught how to eat better, and now the forks over knives people. I don't even say they're preaching our message because they are not preaching our message. They are preaching how to have good health, but it is not what they are preaching is not the gospel message. And I hear people saying forks over knives is preaching our message. No, they're not. No, they're not. Because forks over knives does not lead you to Jesus. So if it doesn't lead you to Jesus, it's not the true health message. But the point is, they're teaching people how to reverse diabetes, how to lower cholesterol, how to, when my brother gave up meat because of the movie What the Health. Okay? And then people are speaking against don't speak against What the Hell. We're not preaching it. If people want to get their diet better because they watch What the Hell, let them watch it. Amen. Let the rocks cry out. Okay? Look, y'all got me over here preaching. But to answer your question, I don't know the answer to that question. All I know is that it's not being taught. I can't speak to the hearts of people and why they're not preaching the truth. Other than, let me tell you something. I will say this. This Sunlight curriculum, it is not for the faint of heart. And when I first started embracing this curriculum and trying to go through it, I put it down because all I wanted to teach my children is how to write and how to add and subtract and multiply and divide and how to read. I was not trying to change my life because I needed school to be separate from life. And so I needed to just sit down at the table and pull out your worksheet and sit down and be quiet and do what I tell you to do. And that's the kind of school I was looking for. And so I started reading this stuff that was cutting against my very being. And it was just a little much at times. And so we would put that away. We would go get some worksheets because we just wanted to have school. And so I'm reading these things and I'm realizing that I'm not in harmony with these principles. And it is painful to know that your children act the way they do because of me. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. And so, I just put that away. And then I go somewhere where I don't hear that. And then I feel better. I don't know. That's my answer. Okay. Let's go back here to our... Okay, I hope that answers your question. All right, I'm going back to... When you said only do 2 subjects per day until complete, even it takes a month, subjects we are supposed to stay with. Yes. Okay, so back to how to use the curriculum. So you're only doing 2 subjects a day, because think about it. If you did every subject, it's still going to take you about the same amount of time. Because if you did every subject a day, then you're only going to be able to give a little time to each subject. So instead of giving just a little time to each subject, give more time to two subjects, um, and then move on to the next set of subjects. Now, if your school day is a little longer, then you might do three subjects, because this wasn't necessarily really designed for a school setting. But if you're doing a longer school day, then you could do a little more. But I definitely would not do attempt to do all of the subjects in one day. I personally just think it's too much, and you're going to be back and forth. It's just finish the subject, finish the complete thought, and then move on to the next thought, and then come back and review, and then move on to the next thought, and then come back and review, and then move on to the next thought. If that makes sense. So, and I do have in the Google Drive that I showed earlier, under that folder with my name on it, there is an Excel spreadsheet that shows how to go through the subjects two a day until you finish one and go on to the next. So hopefully the spreadsheet will help you. If not, feel free to call me and we can talk through it. I know sometimes when you're first looking at it, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but feel free to call me and we can talk through. But remember also the thought of how the college classes are set up. So, and you go through more material in an hour and a half, 3 days a week, than some people cover in a whole year. So it's about maximizing your time. It's about the way you teach. It's about pulling everything into a unit so that it makes sense, and it won't take you as long as you think it will if you're teaching it in the way that it's supposed to be taught. Okay, we got another question here. Would it be beneficial to have a sunlight co-op with other families and their children once in a while, or best to do at home, locally speaking? So, Allison, I think it would be absolutely beneficial to have some type of co-op, because you are meeting together, you are discussing, you are learning from one another. I don't see anything wrong with that, as long as you're staying true to the curriculum and not trying to make it, necessarily like school, but you are just doing what you would have been doing at home. But, and you can do that with a lot of things. Like, I did this at my church when I still lived in Texas. I knit. And so Sunlight started as a school. Not a school per se, I don't think. I think it was just Miss Cook that used it for her children. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll find that out and I'll get back to you guys. I'm not really sure. But my understanding is that she wrote this for her family, and that is what it was used for. I don't think she had like a school of children that she taught. But I don't know that you had a question about. Okay, let me scroll up. Okay. Okay, hold on, guys. I'm scrolling up because I missed Nikki's question. You had a question about children 14 and 19. Let me find it. Oh, there it is. I'm so sorry, Nikki. I missed your question. When you have older children, how do you teach this curriculum to them, especially when parents ask for hard facts? For example, teaching language lesson one may seem too juvenile. So, oh yeah, let me finish the knitting question, then I'll come back to you, Nikki. Okay, so I started teaching. So because I knit, I started a charity. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I started knitting hats for the Children's Hospital in Austin, and it became a church project, and the project was to knit or crochet 500 baby hats. And so I started teaching classes at my church, and the women would come. They came out in droves. Like, I thought 2 people were going to show up, and like I didn't know what to do with all the people that showed up. And several people agreed to knit 10 hats to go towards this 500. One lady, like by herself, she knit, I don't even remember how it was, she knit almost 100 hats, like by herself. She was so excited, and she would crochet them. But the point is, I used something that I was knowledgeable of and that could benefit others, and we met together, and we did this for our community. And so you could do the same thing. You could have a sewing project, you could have a knitting project, you could have a quilting project where you meet together and you are doing something for your community. Or you could just be discussing the 10 principles of true not the 10 principles, but you could do it with the 10 principles, or you could do it with the 2 through 8 lessons of teaching, because there are projects in each of the lessons. So you could get together and do the projects together. And especially when they're projects that you want to be doing for someone else. I know there's projects in there to make bread, and there's all kinds of projects in there. So you could get together and do these projects together, or you could even get together sometimes and have class, or even all the time, as long as you're doing it together as a family. I don't see any harm in that. I think it would be highly beneficial, because you're going to learn from each other. You're going to get information from the lesson that you may not have gotten if you were doing it just from your family. You just don't want to do it so often that you're neglecting your family duties. Like if you're away all the time, then how are you going to take care of the home? So you want to have the balance. Okay, so back to, was it Nikki's question about, so let me say it this way, Nikki. There is nothing in this program that is juvenile. Let me just say that. So lesson 1 is not for first graders. It is not for second graders. Lesson 1 is just the beginning of the program. And so if you think of it in terms of Bible study, Genesis is just as much for kindergartners as it is for graduate students. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the information that is in the lesson, and you're going to tailor it for the age group. I promise you, the family Bible lessons, any age. You can teach the family Bible lessons to a 5-year-old. You can use them with a 50-year-old. My husband loves the family Bible lessons as much as my children do. Probably more than they do. Because they are phenomenal. And so because they are based on the Bible, you can take the information and you can use it with a 14-year-old. You can use it with a 30-year-old. I read the lessons and get information from them. And so you could easily use lesson 1 language and teach it to an older child. So the only thing, like obviously if you're going to be in the math lesson, then you're not going to do the addition pages with your 14-year-old because they already know how to add. So you're just going to skip that part. But don't skip the spiritual part. Don't skip the research sections. Don't skip where it talks about God adding souls to his kingdom, subtracting sin from your life, multiplying souls. Don't skip that part, because those parts are rich, and they are so good. And so I probably need to do some updated videos on teaching lessons to older children. I don't know that I have focused on that, but I promise you, if you understand the lessons in the way that they are written, it'll be no different than, so let's say you're teaching a class at church, okay? And you're teaching the little kids about, what are we reading this week? You're reading about Jonathan and David, okay? So you're teaching little kids, the lesson this week is about Jonathan and David. So you're going to teach them how David was a good little boy. He went to check on his brothers, and like his daddy told him to, he was obedient, and whatever his daddy asked him to do, he did it. And because he was obedient to his daddy, then God was able to use him. So this is what we're going to say to the 5-year-old, okay? Because they understand you need to be obedient. David was obedient. God was able to use him. He anointed him. He was going to be the king. You know, you may get a little crown put on a child's head. These are the little things that you would do for the little kids. We're going to take this same story, and we're going to teach about David and Jonathan to adults. And now we're going to talk about how Saul was crazy. We're going to call him crazy, okay? Because we're talking to adults now. We're going to say that he was demon possessed. We're going to say this is what happens even when you have been chosen by God and you do not follow him. When you don't give your heart fully to the Lord, the devil will take over your heart. So now we're not going to tell the 5-year-olds that, okay? So this is so now same story, but now we're going to talk about how Jonathan took off his royal apparel. He gave it to David. This is a type of Christ taking off his royal apparel and giving it to those that he has prepared to take their places. And so we're looking for parallels of Christ. We're looking for deep parallels. We're comparing Old Testament scriptures with New Testament scriptures, and now we're applying it to our life today. Same story, different application. I hope that makes sense. So for your 14-year-old, your 19-year-old, depending on where they are spiritually, depending on where you are spiritually, is how your lesson is going to go. When my children and I first went through these lessons, we loved them. We got a lot out of them, but not nearly as much as we get going through them now, because we have studied the Bible. We've learned how to study the Bible. Our Bible study understanding is so much greater than it was when we first started. And so now we get things out of the lesson that we just never would have gotten that, I don't know, 10 years ago, however long ago. But call me and I can show you how to teach lesson 1 language to a 14-year-old and get something out of it and have it be an absolutely wonderful lesson. I promise you the lessons are not lacking in terms of substance, and can be used for absolutely any age. So, all right, I hope that answers your question. All right, let's go down here. Hold on, let me make sure I'm not missing any questions here. Okay, I pray for my son and sings hymns to him. The song I Surrender All helps him to stop crying. I also direct his attention to something else. Amen. Amen. So that is a great point, Sherry. Is it Sherry? Did we determine if your name was Sherry or Sherry? So singing, praying, when you have little ones, when you have older ones, you are going to pray a lot, because prayer changes the atmosphere of the home. The children are all up in arms, you're all up in arms, because they're getting on your nerves, you're getting on their nerves. And so you want to change the dynamics of the atmosphere. You don't want that spirit of irritation. You don't want them to be irritated. So the best way to change that is just to take a moment and pray. And you can ask the children to come and pray with you. If this has not been your custom, they may not want to pray. And that's fine. You take a minute, you can go in your room, you can just get down on your knees, and you can pray and ask God to change your spirit, to change their spirit, to bind your hearts together so that you can all get along, so that there will be peace, love, and joy. These are fruit of the Spirit. So when we are not experiencing these, that means that there is a breakdown somewhere in the home. And it could be with us, it could be with the children, it may be with both. And so these are the things that we're praying to have restored. Maybe we've never experienced them. Maybe we used to experience them and we don't know how to get back to them. Some of us are the lost sheep, right? We're out of the fold, we're away, not knowing how to get back home. Some of us are the lost coin in the house, not even knowing we're lost, not even realizing there's a problem, except that the children are crazy. We're not really sure why they're crazy. And so God will show us where the breakdown is coming, and then he will empower us to deal with these issues. And first, he gives us the right spirit and may even tell us to be quiet so that he can work on our hearts, he can work on the hearts of the children. And so now we are ready to cooperate with him, and we will see not only our hearts change, but we will see the hearts of our children change. Okay, my jug started boiling some water. Not sure where she went. Okay. All right. So, Nikki, I hope that answers your questions. So, for example, when would you bring about essay writing styles in teaching lesson one? So, you can do essay writing styles at any point because remember, you're not just studying language, you're also studying the Bible. You also have Desire of Ages. You can write about anything, and so you can use that time to discuss essay writing. Like you don't have to wait until you get to essay writing to talk about essay writing. So you're going to read what's in lesson one, and then you may break from that, and then you may take 15 to 20 minutes to talk about the good components of a nice essay. In fact, Jasmine, can you hand me this book over here? That little blue book next to the pre-calculus book. It says format writing. Yes. So this is the book that I use for essays. It's Jensen's Format Writing. And the beautiful thing about this book is it just teaches you how to write a particular paragraph. And then you can write the paragraph about whatever you want. Like you don't have to use the examples that they give you. You could do them all spiritual. You could write about whatever you want. They give some nice examples in here. But this is an excellent book. And you don't have to spend a whole lot of time, and you can do it in conjunction. You have that one. I love this. So you can do this in conjunction with lesson one from Sunlight Education and be teaching the principles. Okay, hold on, guys. Let's go back here. And isn't there also high school curriculum like the Cross and the Shadow or the Sanctuary? I can't remember, but we also repeat lessons 1 to 12. Right, so there's a few things that you can do. There is the Cross and its Shadow. And then the Cross and its Shadow is about the sanctuary. And then there's another lesson. I forget the name of it. And you can repeat lessons 1 through 12. Or you can use other materials. Because once you've gone through lessons 1 through 12, by now you know how to write a lesson. You know how to prepare a lesson. You understand what goes into a lesson. And so there is an outline of other studies, and you could continue in those other studies and do your own research and put your own lessons together. But you certainly could go back through 1 to 12. You could study the 8 laws of health. There's a lot of different things that you could do to continue in your studies. And that's what we do as counselors. We help you to decide what you want to do at the next step once you've gone through the lessons, because there's supposed to be several lessons, but those lessons haven't been written. And so in the meantime, you can use the lessons that are available and repeat and enlarge, as was mentioned earlier. Okay, how do I know which Hebrew or Greek number or definition to choose for the spelling cards? One comes from another. I don't know that it really matters. You could look at the context of what the lesson is and pick the one that most is in harmony with what you're studying. So it'd be just like if you were using any word and you're looking up in the dictionary. Okay, so what definition do I use? You use the one that's closest to the subject for which you are studying. Because you're doing a unit study, so which definition of this word goes with what we need it to be? Does that make sense? Because some words have different meanings, and so we want to pick the meaning that's most closely related to what we're studying right now. And if you can't decide, then just pick one. As you go on, you just kind of hang it as a hook in your mind, and then as you're going down to lesson 3 or 4, you're going to say, oh, that we should have used the other one because this one goes for this lesson. And so it's going to kind of all start to click. It may not make any sense at first, but as you continue on, it will make more sense. And then you'll see that the definition that you picked is not the definition you should have been using, which that's okay because you're still learning another definition, but it's not the definition that you needed for this particular study. But write it anyway because you may not figure that out, until 3 or 4 lessons down the road, because that's just how this program works. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but just keep reading, just keep doing it, and eventually everything will fall into place and it will make sense. Okay. Okay, you're very welcome. A lot of times it seems my children procrastinate. How do I deal with this? Also, daydreaming. Okay, so yeah, so that's the problem that we dealt with in our home. Um, so the schedule is going to help you with procrastination, and you're going to have to learn to give deadlines, and then there's going to have to be consequences if those deadlines aren't met. So like maybe you don't get any dessert because you didn't meet your deadline, right? Or maybe you have extra work to do because you didn't meet your deadline. So you're going to give a deadline, and then you're going to teach the children how to manage their time. Okay, so you have an essay due. The book that I showed was format writing. Can you see that? Jensen's format writing. So your children are gonna have an essay due. They're gonna have a math assignment due. They're gonna have some questions due. Whatever they have to get done, they're gonna have to get their clothes ready. And you're gonna set the timer, or you're gonna give them a time, and then you're gonna teach them how to manage their time. So, okay, today's Friday. My essay is due Wednesday. So if I start Tuesday, I'm probably not gonna finish. And even if I finish, it's probably not going to be my best work because I wrote it in an hour when I could have had, 3 days to work on it. And so you're going to help them break it up. And so you're going to tell them, okay, I would like to see your first few sentences today. Okay, so you're gonna teach them step by step how to manage their time, how to do a little bit here, how to do a little bit there, and you're going to give them deadlines until the entire project is done. Now, as they meet those deadlines better and better, you're going to give them more time between the deadlines so that eventually they'll be able to complete the entire assignment alone. They'll be able to say, okay, I need to do 2 sentences today. I need to come up with my title. I need to do this. They'll be able to think through how you taught them how to think through how to get it done, and think through how long it's going to take me, how long do I have to do it, what other things do I have to get done. And this is the other thing that I try to teach my children is do it now, because even though you don't have anything to do tomorrow, that might change. What you do know is that you have time to do it now. You don't know if you have time to do it tomorrow or next week. You think you have time, and you might, but you don't know. If you know you have time to do it now, do it now, because otherwise, to say you can do it later, that's presumption, because you don't know that you have later to get it done. Now somebody's going to call, and they're going to ask if you want to do something, and then you're not going to be able to do it because you have work to do. And so you want to manage the time that you have now while you know that you have that time to manage it. So hope that helps. Okay, let's see. All right, guys. Oh, wow, I didn't even realize it was after 1 o'clock. I got my clock covered up here. Okay, guys, so I hope that this was helpful to you. I hope I answered all the questions. I don't think I skipped any others, and forgive me, Nikki, for skipping your question before. I need to make this thing larger so I can see all the questions come up. My computer's doing some weird stuff over here. But I hope that I was able to answer your questions. Please feel free to email or call if you have any other questions that maybe if I didn't answer it to your liking, or you want to ask some follow-up questions, or if you think of something else, we can work on that together. Okay, so we will meet next Friday. Next Friday will be the first meeting of our 2018 class. So yes, it is. It's presumptuousness. And so I hope you guys are beginning to see, and hold on, I'm just going to read that for the people that can't see these. Nikki says, I learned today that time mismanagement is presumptuousness. Wow. Thanks for saying that, Yolanda. Yeah, and that's painful to hear, isn't it? But it is presumption, because I'm assuming that I can do later something that I have time to do now. And so that's why I keep telling you, when you get that schedule, when you get the routine, it's gonna handle problems you didn't even know you had, that you didn't even know they were related to time management. It's gonna cover a multitude of problems. And the daydreaming also can come from just not really having things to do. It can also, because I used to daydream a lot, and it's because I didn't have any structure. I didn't know what schedule was. I just, the closest I came to a schedule was just being in school. You had this subject at this time, and I just felt like they just had to do that, because we were in school. But it was never given to me as a tool of my life, how to manage my time. Like no one ever taught me that. And so I was daydreaming because I was just, it's just kind of nice to get away to another place in your mind, right? And because I didn't have things that I was focused on getting done. And then also, if your home is not a lovely place to be, let's just say that, then children daydream to escape the tension, right? Because who wants to be in all this tension? Now, some children handle it better than others, but some children just kind of space out. When my parents got divorced, I completely spaced out, and I can tell you stories of when I was in class, but I wasn't really. I was completely just disconnected. And my teacher would say, "Where's your assignment?" What assignment? Like I didn't know what she was talking about because I had just missed the whole class. I had just missed it. I was there. I wasn't talking. I wasn't being disruptive, but I was not there because mentally I was disconnected because my home life was in shambles, and to deal with it, I disconnected because I didn't know how to handle it, and it was too much, and so I just didn't deal with it, or so I thought. So anyway, those are things that we can talk about. How to, when people see the recording later, they can't see the questions. That's the only thing that I like about the YouTube Live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can copy and paste them into the comments. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to copy and paste them into the comments and figure out how to do that. So that's the only thing that I don't like about this YouTube Live is when you watch the replay, it does not show the comments, which is why I'm reading them out loud, but it would be nice to see them. And so as soon as we get off of here, before I refresh my screen, because I lose them too once I refresh my screen, I'm going to try to copy and paste them into a document, and I'll try to paste them into the comments that come up after the live session. You know how when you go to YouTube videos, you can comment, and so that doesn't come up until once the live video is finished. And so I'm going to try to copy and paste the comments from the live video into the recorded comments, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So I'm working on that because it would be really nice to be able to go back and read and see what people had to say. And so, all right, guys, well, have a wonderful Sabbath and Happy New Year, because I probably won't see you guys until next week, the 5th. So I pray that you have a blessed Sabbath day. I pray that you are ready. And we will be working on that through the new year, getting our initiatives and being ready for the Sabbath. We're gonna work on it all. So stay tuned, fasten your seatbelts, because God is working on His people, and we have a lot to do. And through His power, all of it is possible. So don't be discouraged. Be encouraged, because God is able. All right, thank you guys so much. I love you all, and I will see you guys soon. Bye bye. God bless.